Let's be honest. If you've got fine or thinning hair and you're over 60, chances are you've been told the same thing over and over. Just get a bob. It's simple, it's flattering, it works for everyone. And it can work beautifully. But here's the part they leave out. Not all bobs are built the same. And when your hair is thinning, the wrong bob doesn't just fall flat. It can make everything you're trying to hide even more obvious. Have you ever walked out of a salon thinking, I thought this would help me look fresher, but somehow my hair looks even thinner? You're not imagining it, because a blunt bob, a stacked bob, a feathered bob, they may all fall under the same name, but what they do to fine hair? Totally different stories. Some cuts press everything down and make your scalp peek through. Others lift at just the right places, hiding what you don't want seen, and highlighting what still makes you feel you. That's why in this video, we're not just talking about bob haircuts. We're talking about the right bob for your kind of fine hair. We'll break down the 5 best bob styles for women over 60 with thin hair, and more importantly, show you which ones give you volume where you need it, which ones reveal more than you'd like, and how to spot the subtle differences that completely change the result. Because loving the bob isn't the problem. It's choosing the one that actually loves you back. Style number 1, blunt bob. Sharp but suffocating? Let's start with the one everyone recommends, the blunt bob. It's sleek, it's clean, it's what stylists call classic. And if you have thick, full hair, it can be striking, powerful even. But if your hair is thinning, especially after 60, that same clean line can work against you in ways you didn't expect. Why? Because a blunt bob is built on one thing: weight. The straight across cut at the bottom depends on uniform density to create its shape. But what happens when your hair doesn't have that density anymore? It collapses. Instead of forming a strong outline, it drags the eye down. Instead of lifting your face, it pulls it toward the jawline. And worst of all, it highlights the areas you may be trying to downplay. Thinning at the crown, gaps near the temples, or a wider hair part. I once spoke with a woman who said, I thought the blunt bob would give me structure, but when I got home, all I could see in the mirror was how heavy it made my face look and how flat my hair felt. She didn't look older. She looked weighed down, and that wasn't what she signed up for. Here's the thing, blunt doesn't equal bold, not when the hair can't support the shape. So what can you do? If you love the idea of a bob that feels clean and minimal, try softening the blunt line. A slight undercut at the nape, a beveled edge, even just point cutting the ends to remove bulk. These changes won't make the cut look layered, but they will give it movement. And movement is what gives thinning hair life. Because when your haircut moves with you, not against you, that's when it stops hiding your confidence and starts reflecting it. Style number 2, stacked bob, hidden volume that lifts the crown. If your fine hair seems to fall flat no matter what products you use, the problem might not be your shampoo. It might be your structure. That's where the stacked bob comes in. Unlike the blunt bob, which keeps everything the same length, a stacked bob is built like quiet scaffolding, shorter layers in the back that gradually build height toward the crown. It doesn't scream volume, it builds it invisibly. And for women with thinning hair, especially at the back of the head, this cut can be a game changer. Why? Because volume isn't about teasing or mousse. It's about how the hair is shaped to fall, and the stacked bob does just that. One woman I met at a style workshop, 64, soft-spoken, with beautiful silver hair, told me, I never thought of myself as someone who could wear a stacked anything. I thought it was too edgy. But now, I have lift in the back without touching a blow dryer. That's the power of SMAR. But here's what you need to know. Not all stacked bobs are created equal. When the layers are too steep or too short, the cut starts to look bulky, even harsh. It can create a mushroom effect, or worse, draw too much attention to the nape. The key is gentle graduation. Ask your stylist for soft stacking that starts low, close to the neckline, and slowly increases toward the crown. This technique gives your silhouette a natural curve, lifting the back of the head, giving you height, and reducing that flat, sloping look that fine hair often takes on. Bonus tip: pair it with a slightly off-center part. It shifts weight visually, and the layers underneath help the crown stay lifted longer, even between washes. Because the right kind of stacked bob doesn't just sit there. It quietly holds you up, the way a great haircut should. Style number 3, feathered bob. Light, airy, and surprisingly fuller. At first glance, the feathered bob doesn't look like it would work for thin hair. All that softness, all those light, airy layers. If anything, it sounds like the kind of cut that would make fine hair look even finer, right? That's what many women assume, and it's why they avoid it. But here's the twist. When done right, the feathered bob is one of the most effective cuts for creating the illusion of fullness. Without weight, without bulk, and without over-styling. Why? Because feathering isn't just about thinning the hair. It's about controlling how it catches the light. When layers are finely textured and directed outward, especially around the crown and face, they scatter volume instead of clumping it. And for aging hair that tends to fall limp, this lightness can be the very thing that gives it movement again. I once sat with a woman in her early 60s, recovering from a year of heavy shedding due to stress. She told me, "My hair is too fragile for anything fancy. I just want it to feel alive again." We went with a soft feathered bob, tapered ends, chin length, gentle side part. Nothing dramatic. But the moment she ran her fingers through it, she smiled. "It feels like my hair is breathing again." That's what this cut does. It lifts without pressure. But, and this is key, it has to be done carefully. Too much feathering or the wrong direction can make the ends look frayed and the whole style lose shape. That's why this cut works best with hair that's straight to softly wavy, density that's fine to medium, styling that's low effort but not zero effort. A round brush or quick blowout helps keep it light without looking scraggly. If your goal is softness, movement, and subtle lift, especially around the cheeks and jawline, the feathered bob might be your quiet powerhouse. Because sometimes the gentlest styles are the ones that carry the most confidence. Style 4, layered bob. When layers work for you and when they don't. Let's take a deep breath and talk about something that makes a lot of women over 60 hesitate. Layers. They sound high maintenance. They bring back memories of feathered cuts from the 80s. All blow dry, no control. And if your hair is already fine or thinning, the idea of slicing it into even more pieces? Terrifying. But here's the truth. Layers aren't the enemy. Badly placed layers are. Done right, a layered bob can be the perfect shape for adding lightness, movement, and fullness, especially when your hair tends to fall flat fast. So how do you know if layers will work for you? Start with your hair's behavior. If your strands are straight and lie flat against your scalp, layers, even minimal ones, can break up the surface, give lift at the crown, and help you avoid that helmet look. But if your hair is wispy, over-processed, or prone to splitting, too many layers can make things worse. I once worked with a woman who said, "Every time I asked for layers, I came out looking like I lost a fight with a weed whacker." We laughed, but the frustration was real. So we took a different route. Just a few long layers near the front to soften the face. Slight elevation at the crown. Clean perimeter to keep structure. The result? She still had her bob, but now it moved. And she didn't need 20 minutes with a routed brush to make it look alive. The key is control. Layered bobs work best when the layers are minimal, strategically placed, not too short, not too deep, designed to enhance your face shape, not fight it. Because when layers are used like seasoning, not the whole dish, they bring out the best in your hair. And sometimes, the right layer in the right place is all it takes to turn limp and tired into fresh and light. Style number 5, the no bob rule, when it's better to walk away. We've talked about the best versions of the bob, the tweaks, the textures, the tricks. But now it's time to be honest about something that rarely gets said. Sometimes the best bob for you is no bob at all. That's not defeat. That's wisdom. Because as much as we love the bob, and we do, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And for some women with fine or thinning hair, especially after 60, it may no longer support what you actually need. Here's what I mean. If you've lost significant volume at the crown, if your sides are thinning so much that the shape caves in around your face, if your neckline has receded and can't hold a clean perimeter, then, no matter how skilled your stylist is, the bob may start to betray you. It may cling too tightly to your... I kept forcing the bob because I thought giving it up meant giving up on myself. But the day I let it go, I felt free. She switched to a soft pixie with long crown layers, and for the first time in years, her hair looked like it belonged to her again. Because here's the truth, the bob is a tool, not a rule. And sometimes, the most empowering move is walking away from a cut that no longer serves you, so you can find one that does. Maybe it's a lob that grazes your shoulders. Maybe it's a shag with airy movement. Or maybe it's something brand new you never considered because you were too busy keeping the bob. Whatever it is, it should feel like you, now. Because this chapter of life isn't about proving you can still pull off a style from the past. It's about choosing what moves with you, today, freely, beautifully, and without apology. So what have we learned? The bob is not just one haircut. It's a family of shapes, lines, and textures, each one offering something different. And when your hair is fine or thinning, the difference between just okay and absolutely right can come down to a single detail, the shape of the crown, the softness at the ends, whether you frame your face or let the style frame you. But most importantly, it comes down to this. How do you want to feel when you see yourself in the mirror? Because after 60, it's not about chasing trends. It's not about holding on to what used to work. It's about choosing the version of yourself you want to bring forward, with intention. Maybe that's a softly layered bob. Maybe it's a feathered shape that moves with the breeze. Or maybe, for the first time, it's letting go of the bob entirely and finding freedom in something new. Whatever you decide, let it come from clarity, not fear. Let it reflect who you are now, not who you think you should be. Here at Elder Insight, we believe beauty doesn't shrink with age. It sharpens. It simplifies. It gets smarter. So here's to finding the cut that doesn't just sit on your head, but lifts you up.